Then and now, we got the crown when we rock the town. Hot sound, keep us breaking ground while we chillin' lounge. 3 generations, black nerd soldiers, podcast snipers trying to pop culture. Allegedly, haters try to talk, but a pedigree in rare form.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Then and Now podcast. I had a soundboard set up, but forgot to connect it. So next show, we'll have the soundboard back in order. But today, guys, we are joined with the regular illustrious co-host. I have with me Lelouch V, all the way from Chicago, and from Virginia. I have with me Professor E, King of the Comics, Ethan Murphy. How y'all doing, my brethren?
That was good before you put out, like, my backstory. I wasn't prepared to cover that in this episode. Like, I thought we were talking about cartoons and Snyders. Like,
I gave a whole city, though. Like,
plural Snyders.
I mean, I didn't tell him about your haunted dreads, nigga. I could have told him about the haunted dreads, but that's cool.
These phantom dreads that never existed?
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, phantom dreads is a better name for him.
But you just said I never told him about. While you're saying that, you're telling about him too. So it's
I don't know what you're talking about.
antithetical. Antithetical? Some word in college.
Yeah, guys, today we have an interesting lineup today. It's going to be all about Norse mythology and Zack Snyder, a combination I didn't think I would ever put together before this show. Starting off, though, with a little warm-up topic, guys. It's been a more recent thing, probably the last couple of years, to see all the Norse mythology content that we've been seeing passed around between movies, games, and now animation and anime. We've seen this in to Otis's point that he brought up, more specifically with the regards to Ragnarok. There's been other things here and there. People have like played around with different stories of Greek mythology, but the whole allure of the end of the world has been something that I've seen a lot of these different studios and producers try to utilize for their products and media coming out. Question I have for the panel here: what do you guys think is like the biggest catalyst for this just new renaissance of Norse mythology being a thing? We saw I think Greek mythology was like the thing for like the 2000s to like maybe like the maybe like the mid 2010s maybe. But we've seen this like renaissance now with Norse. What do you guys think the catalyst is for this? What kicked this off?
Honestly, I think that it was the MCU. I think that, them bringing Thor into like the mainstream for content. And then, people thinking like, hey, there are stories around Norse mythology that can be talked about. Which one we like a lot? Ragnarok. Like, there's Ragnarok everything. God of War Ragnarok. There's Record of Ragnarok, the anime. I mean, there's something Ragnarok in every medium. And I think that Thor really was like the catalyst that really brought it to the mainstream attention.
Yeah.
Professor E?
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely Thor, aka Chris Hemsworth himself. Definitely helped catapult it as well. In the background too, even before the MCU or while the MCU was on the rise, the manga for Vinland Saga was doing this thing too, as it was making its mark with one of the dark, what's it called, the Seinen trio. Is that what's called? Otis?
Seinen trio.
Seinen trio. Right. So that was helping it grow as well. Obviously, we had Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which came out a few years back. What year did that come out? I know because you play the game, the Assassin's Creed games more than I do. But that Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Producer Cito, help me out, please.
Yeah, we had our producer. We got our producer out there.
I played that game, but I got into it like later. Like, I did not play it when it first came out.
Oh, right on. And then, of course, one last thing we got mentioned too is the show Vikings. The show Vikings, which is actually pretty well acclaimed. I think it had 5 seasons. That series, really helped kind of solidify the idea about the Vikings being what they were.
Main character Ragnar Lothbrok.
Yeah,
Ragnar.
That's the most. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, there's plenty of things that really kept it coming. I mean, obviously, as Otis mentioned, it was probably started with Hemsworth doing his thing in Thor, which came out 2012, 12 years ago now, and then I think Vinland Saga also really helped too.
I agree with a lot of that. To Editor Cito's point, thank you for reminding me. I forgot this was based in Norse mythology, but How to Train Your Dragon was a one that for children that really kind of introduced a lot of that imagery.
Yeah,
it wasn't really focused on the mythology aspect as much as just the cultural, like how with like their architecture, their language, and all that good stuff. Well, not really their language, but accents, I guess. But it's been subtle for a while. But personally, I don't think like the craze for it really happened until the new God of War series dropped. I feel like that catapulted a lot of the conversation around it. Because I saw people discuss these different franchises and the media aspects of it. But sadly, a lot of the conversation when it came to this God of War was like about the different races that were portraying different characters. I know Agner Boda being a black girl was like a whole conversation on the internet for like a couple weeks when the second game was announced and they were like announcing art for that. But personally, at least, I felt like the big super hype for it happened around the time the first God of War game came back into the PS4 era. I think at that point in time.
God of War Ragnarok, yeah.
No,
Yeah. Well, not the first one. Just God of War. I mean, Ragnarok had a lot. I think a lot more conversation.
Oh, the sequel. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the same idea, but God of War. That's right. Dad of War.
Yeah, Dad of War. But yeah, it's been something that's been really interesting to me. And again, personally, for me, I enjoy it. I'm a big mythology fan myself. Again, I read a lot. I went on a deep rabbit hole after I played the first God of War game after I came back to learn more about mythology and like the stories around it and what was accurate, especially with something like God of War, like the stories they take. Because obviously with mythology, there's a lot of different mini stories within the mythos that they take and adapt for different things. But when do you guys feel like you first like really went head deep into the deep end when it comes to like Norse mythology? Or did you ever like really just go in deep and try to learn as much as you can about it or what actually happened with Ragnarok and all that good stuff?
I mean, for me, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. You have more hair than I do.
I was going to say, for me, I don't think I've really dived heavily into Norse mythology. It was always Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, Chinese mythology that really grabbed my attention. Like when content pieces or like Thor, like God of War came out, I decided to do a little bit more delving into how much did they change about the actual myth to make this content piece. But it was more so Viking specifically that I was interested by, rather than like the mythology around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of with Otis. I was never like the biggest fan of Norse mythology. I did like Greek as well. I studied, of course, after seeing Dragon Ball Z. I was more of a fan of kind of the Journey to the West or Chinese mythology. So, but I did back in the day, Charlie, when was it 2001 when Marvel's Ultimates, the comic, came out? Is that when it came out? It was 2001, I think it was.
Ultimate Spider-Man or like the Ultimates?
The Ultimates, the Squad, not Spider-Man himself, but the Squad. That is in the same universe, obviously, as Ultimate Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But that Bendis made all of them. The Thor was kind of redesigned or rethought of, essentially, and his personality was kind of humorous in a sense, but it worked. And then also seeing that actual movie too, that Ultimate Avengers movie that came out was really interesting. So I kind of was like a little more intrigued after that, and that was in the earlier 2000s. So I did a little more research, somewhat, but not too much. It wasn't really until I saw the Thor movie in 2012 when I saw Loki and him, and I remember being like, yo, their personalities seem a little different than the little bit of research I did as far as back in the day. So all I remember from the Norse mythology is how much of a, for lack of a better word, how much of an asshole Thor typically is. He's basically like the super jock. He's a super powerful beast that is just like a super egotistical narcissist nihilist. He's a monster almost. If for anyone who's seen like God of War Ragnarok or even our topic for today, that's closer to how he's represented in the actual mythology. He's not a superhero like Chris Hemsworth. It's a very different take on things. So it's
Thor, Norse mythology.
To give details to people that are interested, the Ultimates, the first one came out in 2002.
2002, my bad. Yeah, 2002. Our producer on top.
I mean, you're only a year off. But yeah, to your point, I think for me, the thing that I found most interesting about Norse mythology, because I didn't dive into the actual mythology aspect of it until I played the newer God of War games. Like I knew remnants about it, like how Thor actually looked and things like that, but like how Ragnarok actually went and how these characters were actually created, or these people actually created this mythology, or even the history behind how the mythology was even created. I didn't dive into until after the game came out, because again, for me, the thing that I love about mythology of other cultures so much is the human aspect to these deities that they give them. Because for most mythologies with Greek and Norse and to an extent Egyptian as well, you see these cultures tend to give these deities like human emotions and human needs, rather that be Zeus being overly horny, rather that be Odin with an eternal search for knowledge. We have like not Set. I'm thinking about the god of destruction of Egyptian mythology, where there's different needs and wants that they have that I found interesting about them. And I always look at like the culture of like, okay, what about these people's culture made them want to give these guys these traits to praise them with?
Yeah.
I was obviously like Norse and Vikings being very like warlike people, having something like Valhalla, or somebody like Thor being so violent made sense for that. Him being a conqueror and just doing whatever he wanted to do, it made sense.
Yeah, I think one thing too, when you do the research, on some level, they are able to, by having like Thor as a justifier for how they may act alpha male in a way that's not too attractive, or how they go. I mean, obviously we know things from Viking mythology, not mythology, but how Viking history, how they were plunderers. They were not nice guys. They would go to different places and they'd ravage everything there. I mean, I literally mean that they would ravage everything there. So it's I think by having someone like say, well, we're doing this in honor of Thor, he's our captain. Look at what he does. So because he's able to do that, we're able to be that much worse ourselves, so to speak.
Right. It's rather interesting. Otis, do you have like? I'm curious. Do you have like a particular individual in Norse mythology you paid more attention to, or is it just Thor for you?
For me, it was Loki. I was always curious, as like, what does a god of mischief do? Like you, in every other mythology, you see gods of so many different things, but that was the only time I've seen like someone that's literally meant to inspire chaos, and I found from some relation there.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. Speaking of Loki, there's he has an interesting portrayal in the show that we're going to talk about today, being Twilight of the Gods. He's an interesting take. I feel like, to Otis's point, I kind of agree to an extent with Loki because he's always a very interesting character within mythology in Norse mythology. Like sometimes he's perceived more of a trickster, other times he's like more nefarious, I guess, with like literally him getting Boulder killed and like getting him trapped in the other world. Like, but he's like the pettiest individual, but also kind in certain aspects. Is very interesting. But I think the adaptation of him in this series is probably closest to at least what I've seen looking at the stories of Norse mythology and how he's like portrayed there.
Oh yeah. He's
but let's talk about this show.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about this show really quickly. Let's give like an overview synopsis about how you feel about it before we get into the details of it. Professor E, what were your thoughts on the series as a whole? I think you were the last one out of us three to watch it in full.
Yeah, I didn't finish it till today. But yeah, it's funny because so it's funny because for those who don't know, spoiler alert, Charlie and I are working on a project dealing with revenge, so to speak. And this story is largely about a person obsessed with getting revenge, and we see how much that is destroying them, and how much it's destroying the world they're in, and how that ultimately how it destroys them. But ironically enough, how engaging and how interesting it is. This story, I'm not the biggest. There are a couple of productions that Zack Snyder has done over the years. I'm like, that's pretty cool, like Dawn of the Dead or even Man of Steel. I have a soft spot for that. But a lot of Zack Snyder's more recent work, especially on Netflix, has not been that great, not appealed to me that much.
Rebel Moon.
cough. Part 1 and 2. But when Otis wanted us to watch this, I was like, oh man, I got to get drunk as hell for this. But I'm glad I was able to be sober enough to enjoy it, because this actually, I did enjoy it for the most part. It does have some failings, but I didn't think that it was due to I think the characters in and of themselves were well portrayed, were engaging, which is something I haven't seen in a Zack Snyder production. He presented it. Let's be clear. Zack Snyder presented this. I don't think he actually had too much to do with as far as like all the nitty gritty stuff.
That's what I wanted to ask. Editor Tito, while you're in the back, could you look up to see what capacity Zack Snyder had in this? Was he a writer, just a director, or what was he doing in this?
He was executive
Maybe
producer.
I don't know. Maybe he got one off.
He did not. I mean, I checked the credits every episode. I know he directed the final episode. I know he's executive producer. He's creator.
According to Tito, he was writer and executive producer.
He's a creator on like the suit overall. But here's the thing. Zack Snyder, the last thing that dude wrote was Rebel Moon. It's like that is not a good representation of your skills, my friend. I literally deal with writers. I have 80 students at my school, right? All of them are writing classes, and I am more proud of everything they've written than anything Zack Snyder has done in the last decade. So let that be just a reference there. But anyways, I thought it was enjoyable. It had lots of problems, but I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah. According to editor Sito, he was one of a few writers and directors, so it was like a team on this.
Mhm.
I don't know how much he did, but I know he had top billing because of the name, obviously, to help.
Yeah,
sell.
it said presents.
See if
Like
people check it out.
Spielberg presents Looney Tunes or
The
something.
show wouldn't have happened if his name was not
100%.
being real.
Right.
100%.
Right. Yeah, Lelouch, what about you? How do you feel about the show, bro?
Yeah, overall, I thought it was definitely enjoyable. I didn't really fully know what to expect going in. I had made sure to avoid as many of the trailers for this as possible because I feel like lately trailers kind of give away the entire story for a project.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting this to be a Ragnarok story. I think their rendition of it was interesting. The changes to the children of Loki I thought were very convincing. I feel like that added another layer of depth to this character, so I appreciated that about it. There's a lot of sex there. Like they're
A lot.
like they put an emphasis to put in as many sex scenes as possible into this. I was like, there's only 8.
Not just sex scenes. Not just sex scenes.
There was-
Graphic sex
Yeah,
scenes.
there was like they
Yeah.
had no. They
We've seen a
only-
lot of peeing in this
A lot of-
show. There's a lot of peeing in the show.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that aspect to it. But overall, I thought this was a compelling piece. I don't think there were too many characters that didn't have at least somewhat motivation that could be, agreeable to go on a legit suicide mission against, a god. Definitely better than I was expecting than when I saw the names attached to it.
Yeah.
But we can get into the nitty gritty.
Before I get my thoughts, I'm going to go ahead and give credit to the directors and writers. So the directors were Andrew Tamandi, David Hartman, Jay Olivia. Oliva. I probably mispronounced that. I apologize. Writers were Peter Apurlo, Eric Carrasco. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Jay Olivia and Zack Snyder wasn't. So he was credited for writing. He wasn't credited for a directorial aspect of it.
I know in the credits he directed the 8th episode. I saw it's directed by Zack
Okay.
Snyder.
And Hans Zimmer was part of the music here, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Why
music was on
hit
point,
so
yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Shout out Hans Zimmer, that boy's goated. But for me, because I think I released like a little short on my thoughts on it, but all around I thought it was cool. I definitely had low expectations once Otis let it slip that it was Zack Snyder, because he said the name of the show. I was like, yeah, check this out. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll watch it. Then I looked it up and I was like, Zack Snyder. He was like, yeah. I was like, no. It's like, oh no. But I enjoyed it. Y'all know I love a good revenge story. I thought that the voice acting was spectacular. I thought the writing for a lot of these characters was really layered. Like I said before, Loki was an amazing character.
Yeah.
One of
That's
my,
part
I
of the
think the
story.
biggest con for this was, to Otis's point, this was overly horny. This show was overly horny. There were characters that were nude that didn't need to be nude. Like there's no reason for the Valkyries to be naked. Like you have shoulder armor, but nothing else on.
And helmets.
And yeah, protecting your head and your shoulder. But the chi-chis and your hoo-ha and the yams is out.
They didn't have a G-string. They had a G-strings. They don't have G-strings. Yeah.
Did they? I thought I saw some cooter
Yeah,
cats.
some of them did have a G-strings at least, but
Jesus.
is that any better?
They had long scenes where Sigurd was just like standing naked, talking to characters as part of the plot for whatever reason. And to Otis's point, like a lot of sex scenes. And for me, I'm cool with sex scenes if they're there to punctuate relationships, like if you're trying to showcase how passionate characters are about one another or how self-destructive they are. If it's there to accentuate a certain plot point, if they're there to punctuate certain character aspects, I love it. But I feel like there is like whole sex scenes just thrown in there to be thrown in there.
Yeah.
Just cause. And that was when I was like, okay, there's a Zack Snyder writing right there. I see that right there.
Yeah.
That's Zack Snyder.
It's like, nah, we gotta have at least 3 threesomes. We gotta have 3 threesomes.
Yeah,
Bro.
at least it was, but also because it was. I mean, there's one. I mean, too many details before our producer has more fun with us. But there was one threesome that it started off very romantic and very charming. As that space is actually pretty cool. I enjoyed how they set up. I enjoyed.
I didn't
the
mind that
characters.
one.
But then it does have to go extra mile and show like some of the intrigue. And it's like, come on, you had to do all this at the end. Like you could just let them
Bro.
do their thing. But they, it's funny though. Whatever.
Those artists had fun with that show. I can tell they had fun. But let's get into some of the details here. I think a point that I want to start with that Otis brought up was the differentiation between actual Norse mythology and this. Biggest one being the children of Loki, obviously being Hela, Fenrir, Jormungandr, and oh my god, I'm trying to remember the horse's name. I can't remember the name of the steed. Yeah, the horse that he spawned through that whole thing. For the most part, Hela seemed like she was most accurate to the mythology from what I remember. Fenrir was also very similar to that, although he didn't murder Odin like he's supposed to, but that's a whole different thing. I can understand that. The biggest thing that I saw, you said what?
See if they saved it for part 2.
Probably, I won't be surprised at that. Because they did keep the whole thing about them locking him up in Asgard out of fear, which did make sense in the mythology to me. Like, if you're scared of him, why put him on in your house?
Sure.
I digress. But the biggest thing for me that I found very irritating of the story change was the Jormungandr and Thor affair, and that being a critical thing to that's the downfall of him. So people that aren't familiar with how that worked in the Norse mythology, Jormungandr and Thor are essentially like rivals throughout all of Norse mythology. There's like multiple stories of like goofy stuff of like Thor trying to hold him up over his head because he was disguised as a cat, or like Thor went fishing one time and accidentally caught Jormungandr. It was a whole bunch of random crazy kooky stuff. Yeah. And at Ragnarok, Jormungandr kills Thor with acid venom by spitting on him in his dying gasp. So they kill each other essentially. The differentiation from that to here is that they decided to have the downfall of Thor, we haven't really revealed on how that's the downfall yet or why that's a thing yet, is him having a sexual encounter with Jormungandr, his niece. And that being the cause of his downfall for whatever reason. And that being like a big stain on his legacy. Initially, I thought it was like, oh, maybe just because he's having an affair from I'm blanking on his wife's name right now, the goddess of fertility. Sif, is it Sif? I think it's not Sif.
Lady Sif?
No, it's the woman with the long hair. She's the goddess of fertility in Norse mythology. I'm blanking on her name right now. I have no idea. Sita, help me out. But like they made it a thing. I'm like, okay, maybe it's a big thing because Freya. No, Freya was the black woman. His wife was a blonde woman. But anyway, that's besides the point. I figured the big thing was like, oh, him having infidelity issues. But then later on in the show, he's having infidelity, or just he's having an affair like in front of her, or like in the same room as her, damn near. So I'm like, okay, that was the big thing. Why is him having sex with her an issue, and why is that like the thing going forward? That's where the Zack Snyder kind of showed out for me, because the big downfall of a character being them having sex in a show about war and vengeance just felt really off and out of place for me.
Sure, that's fair. I mean, that's a. It's ironically enough, that seems so much in line with Thor as far as someone that just wouldn't care about anyone by himself. I know it's not in line with his mythology behind him, but as far as for the show, and the show being what it was, the nature of this show, I can see the lines are connecting. So yeah, I'm with you there. The thing that bothered me about the show was how, again, some of the characters' motivations. Some of the characters' motivations seem kind of weird. The best character in the show by far, I think we can all agree, was Loki. But at the same time, that dude was just kind of weird with what he do. Like, for example, I mean, we can get some spoilers here for the show if you want to see it. Perhaps to pause now and come back, watch the rest of our discussion afterwards. But one of the things was Loki, of course. Long story short, Loki helps someone try to get revenge on Thor and essentially all of Asgard, more or less. But the thing about it is, Frigg was the name. Frigg, yeah, that's the name of Thor's wife. But the thing about it is, part of he constantly sets them up for failure in a way, yet ultimately he still wants them to succeed at killing him. It's like you can't do both. You can't talk out both sides of your mouth over and over and over again, Loki. I'm not sure. I know you're the trickster god, or the god of mischief. That makes sense. I got you. But if your end game, and I mean it's pretty serious to him because his daughter's life is on the line. Why are you constantly making things that much more difficult for your squad? Like poisoning their apples to give them to people, or setting them up to have to go into wars with Jotunheim. It doesn't make sense to me. So that was the biggest problem I had with the writing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Because yeah, he did intentionally create hurdles, and I mean, you can try to say that it's for a grander plan, but like,
Mhm.
what it like, I don't know how poisoning the apples made to the old gods like help them along the path. Actually, like,
Yeah.
they would have had an army versus not having an army.
Right.
Well, for the apple in particular, that was a whole thing because he wanted to cause the older gods of the Vanir to be enraged at Odin and them. Because remember, like at the end, after that, he came out and said, "Oh yeah, I poisoned it on Odin's orders. So go kill him. They'll be mad at him because I poisoned you, or Odin poisoned you."
Right. But
that was that reasoning for that in particular.
But at the same time, again, what's the name? Frigga, not Frigga. The Sigrid. Right. Sigrid was like, our quest is to literally go after Odin. I'm sorry. It's actually to go after Thor. Essentially, we had to take down all of Asgard to do this. If we bring you these apples that you guys want so badly, will you do this for us? They said, yes, we will. So it's kind of, they were already on board before that. So I don't know why. And also, if the apples had gotten to them, the whole point was they'd be more, have more mortality, I think it was, be more vitalizing. Those apples that he had, the poisonous apples, killed off a bunch of them. So like, that's even worse. So
well, they didn't die for whatever reason. Because those same guys that were like choking died on the battlefield later on.
Yeah, I think
I guess the poison didn't work for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So
I remember the tree god in particular, like she didn't die. Yeah. She died on the battlefield.
So it's gave him herpes or something, whatever it was. But the issue is that it clearly didn't help things. But it's I don't know.
I'm guessing that because they haven't said it yet, but obviously I think the prophecy of Ragnarok is probably going to be a big motivator. Because again, for people that aren't aware, in Norse mythology, the prophecy of Ragnarok of Fenrir and like pretty much all of Loki's children being the big catalyst for the end of the Aesir was the reasoning on why they split up all his kids. Like they sent Hela to Hell and put Fenrir in Asgard and threw Jormungandr in the sea. And obviously Loki in this wanted revenge for his kids being split apart and being treated badly and all that good stuff. And there's also some sort of plot that him and Freya are also cooking up because she wanted revenge as well. So I think there's some, as far as like the master plot, we haven't seen yet because they're doing the thing where they're trying to set up for a second season. Again, it now it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm not saying it'll all make sense in the second season. I don't know. I'm hoping that if, you're going to try to like save any of this, it'll make sense in the second season. But Zack Snyder being attached to this won't surprise me if it doesn't not make any sense. But yeah, I understand your thoughts on that, and I agree on the issues there because there's a lot of things with Loki doesn't make a lot of sense.
But again, that being said, he is by far the all-star of the of this production. Every time he was on screen, I was like, "This is amazing! This guy is this actor, this character, this creation, this entity, this illustration, all to the nth degree." And he also had the most emotional range too, as far as what he was doing for his family. You saw how he actually was compassionate towards his kids. I genuinely loved all of them for different reasons. And it actually what drew me into the show as I was watching the first episode. I was kind of like, okay, this is Zack Snyder stuff. And I'll be completely honest with you, Charlie and Otis. I was also grading papers while I was like watching the first episode. And then it got to the very end. And of course, there's a bloodbath. It's okay, that makes sense. It's kind of fun to watch that. But then once our girl, Sigrid, was like taken down to hell, it's like, yo, I'm going to help you get revenge. And it's like, yo, you would to kill a god. I was like, oh, here we go. Here's a series. And the idea that Loki is her agent of kind of her is on her side to do this in a way. The Miyagi to her Daniel's son. I was like, oh my god, this is I've never seen this type of a story before. Trying to have an original Vengeance tale. Loki as your guide. That's different.
I'm not gonna hold you. This just felt like somebody played God of War Ragnarok and wrote their own story. Because if I remember right, isn't Sigrid supposed to be the wife of Kratos in the game? Mm-hmm. So you just replaced Kratos with Sigrid, and gave him this god-killing weapon, and then you sent him off to Asgard to cause Ragnarok to kill Thor. It's like,
as opposed to Mount Olympus with Kratos mostly upon, yeah.
Right. Well, they did it in God of War Ragnarok. Like they went to Ragnarok to kill Thor. They went to kill Thor and Odin.
Well, he wasn't as motivated about that. They kind of came for him more so than him going for them.
Yeah. But all in all, I think because this one moment in particular I want to speak on in regards to Loki that I think we all can agree well, I think we all will agree is the best like moment for him was when he was inside of the god's head assisting with I can't remember the character's name, Sigurd's husband's name.
Well,
Leaf,
fiance.
helping him get out of there.
Yeah, not married yet.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know how that happened either. I'm like, I thought y'all were officially married after you read the vows, whatever else, but I guess that didn't happen for whatever reason.
Because what she said is that he came down while they were reading the vows. It wasn't official. They didn't finish the actual ceremony.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyways.
But yeah, that moment he helped him out, and there's a key moment, a key phrase. I'm probably butchering this verbatim, but in regards to him pretty much saying that he is the patsy for regards to the planet, the god that takes the fall for all the bad things that happen to mankind. So he just plays into that essentially. Like he's not really the god of mischief, but people and gods kind of let him take that fall because they need to blame somebody for the misdeedings of everybody else, which to me made a lot of sense. And then showing how tender he was towards his kids was also like something really dope to me. I love seeing that aspect in Editor Cito's point, like Lucifer. That's another thing with me, again, me being Southern Baptist and watching a lot of content with the devil. And I love that misunderstanding of characters who are perceived to be nothing but pure evil. Because it's always like two sides of something, and then there's the truth somewhere in the middle. So like, yeah, I love that and how that went about. And I love that they kept in a lot of the original stuff with, well, it's some freaky stuff with regards to how his son, not Slofnir, that was the ring. I had to look up what the horse's name is that he birthed, essentially, because he let that horse
that was tricky stuff.
Pound it out with him.
Yeah, that was
some weird, Loki's done some weird shit.
Yeah, but that was also the impetus for that was more devious, too, that Loki, again, was playing both sides. He was actually was preventing that giant that helped build that wall from getting what he rightfully earned.
That was like right out of Norse mythology.
You're right.
For really quickly, for people that are interested in learning more about this, you can go read the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, which are the two books that were essentially created for the Norse people to hold their mythologies and their religion in after the Christians came on and said, no more of that. So if you want to be more of that, you can do that.
Too. They pretty much have a breakdown of both those things for it. Yeah.
Or you can find it on YouTube somewhere. Somebody's probably covering this on YouTube. But those are the two books you can read to cover pretty much all of Norse mythology and a lot of Norse religion they had at that moment in time. They like hid it in poems and in stories and stuff. But back to Loki, Otis, tell me what your most the most impressed you were with that character without this series. Was it that episode or was it another moment?
No, I mean, when he got he named himself Loki the Blamed. That really was like a culmination of like, the perception that people have had of him in other mediums through other mythology, and then getting to see exactly who he was in this series too. I think that was the best moment that I've seen him in, and honestly any medium. And gave a level of explanation and depth to his character that you really don't think about until he is just like, after somebody does something bad, like, it was Loki, bro. My bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah, bro.
The ultimate scapegoat. Yeah, like obviously, like a producer said, like Lucifer. It wasn't me, it was the devil. The devil made me do it. It's like, no, come on, that was you. I watched you do it, Otis. So yeah. But yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I appreciated him throughout the entire series. Just seeing, how he chose to give out certain parts of information, what he withheld, like what the things that he was sabotaging versus not, and how he conducted himself to get to the end goal of killing Thor. I thought that was really handled greatly. And then when it come down to start fighting, he was ready for that too by the end. So,
which seemed weird to me though, because obviously, again, for up until this point, we haven't seen Loki throw hands at all. He has been much more. His idea is more cunning. He's kind of much more lays in the cut. But at the very end, Sigurd's like, "Hey, man, pick up some iron and do something." And he was actually a boss-ass fighter too. So okay, I guess he can throw hands as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of comes into like how much. I guess they're relying on like Norse mythology and like knowledge, because he and Thor go on like a bunch of adventures in like actual mythology to go fight. Like I don't know, like if he's not supposed to be like as good of a fighter as Thor, obviously, but he's shown in Norse mythology to be able to be like capable, because he's like always went on adventures with Thor, or at least he went on a couple of adventures with Thor back in the day.
But yeah, I guess, and it's possible, of course, it is. But it'd be fun to see Loki, because up until this point, again, we've seen Loki do so many. He constantly is using different types of tactics. it'd be interesting if he used different things like that again, even on the battlefield. If he had a little tricks or plans or something. If he's just another warrior like the rest of them are warriors, which does bring up one other thing I want to mention real quick. I enjoyed how they were all the different. The party had 7 people ultimately, maybe. Never actually stopped to count them, but how each of them had very clear personalities. Their motivations weren't always as clear, but at the same time, they worked. All the characters in and of themselves worked. They all had chemistry together, and they were fun to watch. It reminded me of how, again, another Zack Snyder production, Rebel Moon, how the whole idea was just like have a whole bunch of good-looking people that are muscular fight. It's like that doesn't really work. This production, this animated series, these characters felt like actual characters, actual individuals, different people with different personalities, different motivations, and it worked a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think everybody in the party had a unique backstory that I found rather interesting. Like, I don't think there's anybody in their party that I disliked or thought was really boring. Honestly, I found everybody relatively interesting.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel bored, like hearing from either the bard or the witch. But I thought everybody was pretty cool. And I thought their interactions were also very interesting in how they interacted.
Yeah.
I thought maybe the wolf was maybe the most confusing to me because initially I assumed that he was going to be like Fenrir secretly, but he wasn't. He was just like a werewolf.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why do you have this random wolf man that you're not giving his backstory, and then he's obviously really strong for whatever reason? I'm like, okay, he's just a werewolf now. All right.
Yeah.
I just assumed he'd be like a version of Fenrir hidden or something like that. But that should be
be bound by the witch though. It seems odd, but yeah, fair enough.
Right. Because it could have been however you wanted to spin it. Because Fenrir is out of commission until Ragnarok anyway.
Fair. That's fair. But no, he was cool too. I mean, Otis, and you probably know this too, Charlie. My favorite creature in all of when it comes to horror, I love zombies to pieces, but my favorite creature is werewolves. I love werewolves to pieces. So at the end, when he goes pretty much Super Saiyan and transforms into a mega wolf, I was like, yo, let's go. Let's go. I'm here for it. And they actually do. They do show Fenrir here as well. They show Fenrir when he talks to him later on, right? Wasn't that Fenrir?
Yeah, they show him briefly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's not that wolf, the wolf leader or whatever else.
Yeah. Wasn't that Fenrir?
No, that's not Fenrir. No.
Oh, I thought it was Fenrir. Okay.
Because Fenrir would be significantly larger than that.
That's
like
true.
He's
the size of he's able to carry moons and shit. Yeah, that's right.
Plus, he eats the sun. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right.
During Ragnarok.
That's fair. But
plus, he's chained up in Asgard like forever from his birth. Like they chained him up.
There's some mean people, man. Asgardians are just jerks. Let's be honest.
Oh,
they're not.
The AC are assholes, bro. The AC are assholes.
None of them are nice people. One thing I bring up too, because I liked I can't remember her name, but old girl that was essentially another warrior that she was on the field. She was like Sigurd's like best friend, more or less.
The blonde,
the
kids
right?
that died.
Yes, she had her 3 sons that all died on the battlefield. All went to she believes all went to Valhalla. I couldn't understand why, when she died, a noble warrior's death. I know she had a sword in her hand that was made by the whole idea that it was made by the steel that was soul stealing steel. She wasn't allowed or wasn't deemed worthy to go to Valhalla. She went to hell. However,
her weapon was cursed.
Her weapon was cursed, but wasn't also Sigurd's weapon cursed as well? Weren't all weapons cursed? Like, why was it that Sigurd
she didn't die though? Sigurd didn't die though.
Sigurd, I thought Sigurd died as well. That's the whole point. She died in Leif's arms, and then the Valhalla, the Viking. The Valkyrie. Came
I don't think she's dead yet. That's just me though.
Then why did the Valkyrie take her to Valhalla?
We're gonna see. Again, I don't think she's dead personally. Again, I think that's one of those things we'll learn more about in the next season. I personally don't think she's dead. I think it'll be a thing where like Hela, because she still has that curse on her arms from being in hell. I think it's going to be something spun back where she gets like carried back down or something. Because even though we saw from the first episode that Valkyrie in particular had like an infatuation with her for whatever reason. I think she's not dead personally, because when they got the weapons, the guy to like the dwarf let them know like, hey, none of you are going to Valhalla.
Yeah.
Because you're picking up these cursed weapons, and when you die, I don't know if he said your soul will go to me or who he said your soul will go to, but you don't have your own soul when you die.
Right.
With these weapons.
It goes to hell.
Yeah.
I think so.
Souls are pretty much hellless essentially.
Plus, it's interesting because I know in mythology, like in Norse mythology, the only people that don't go to Valhalla are people that die from anything outside of battles. If you die from sickness, from accidents, or at sea, like you just don't go to Valhalla. You go to hell. Only warriors go to Valhalla.
Yeah, consider a coward. They call it coward's death. Even if you died from sickness, like I had nothing to do with this, or you hit by an air conditioning unit that drops on your head. It's like, wait, why am I blamed for that? But yeah, it seems.
Plus, keep in mind that
Right.
Yeah, or old age. Keep in mind also that Odin is in control of Valhalla essentially too. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, yeah, she's not going up there.
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, I mean, and then one thing too, you are saying you seem pretty certain that they're getting a second season. Has that already been announced or confirmed in any capacity?
I'm not certain that they're getting one, but I'm certain because we talked about this in the last episode in regards to Terminator 2 as well, where a lot of shows they go into the first season with the writing it with the intent of getting a second season. Like they don't write a season as its own story; they write it as a setup to another season. They're like writing this trilogy out without even getting confirmation that you're getting a second season.
Right, but again, I feel like this day and age, a lot of series are even especially with Netflix, whatever it might be, it's kind of like Shonen Jump where everything gets canceled. So I feel like they almost had to have a self-contained story within the first season because they have to understand that they may not get a second one. So if
you should,
but I feel like the thing is too. Again, going to spoilers here. As our girl Sigrid goes up to Valhalla, she's up there right next to Thor. Thor gets sent there by him with Freya earlier, and then so they're up there in Valhalla, and Thor's like, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you." Almost, he's like, "What are you chugging with her at the end?" So it seemed much more like this is kind of the end of the story because ironically enough, too, in the very beginning, I think it was the first episode when Loki sees Sigrid for the first time. He's with Hela, and I think Loki says hell is a place. It's also a person. So at the end of the series, when Sigrid's up there in Valhalla, she's basically still in hell because she's right next to the guy that she hates most of all time.
Yeah. Editor Cito let us know that Zack Snyder says he knows exactly what he wants to do for the second season, but hasn't been greenlit yet.
Okay.
So again, it's probably getting a second season because I talked about this when Otis brought it up. Netflix has been giving Zack Snyder a bag lately with all the Rebel Moon stuff and this being greenlit. Yeah. I doubt that they don't give him a second season for this as much as they've been giving him money lately.
Yeah. Plus all the Army of the Dead movies, or the ones with the Dave Bautista in them. Yeah, I think there are two of those.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know. We're going to see. When it comes to Zack Snyder and his writing, it always isn't the most cohesive or even the best. To your point, I do believe that we talked about it before in the show. I feel like when you're writing a season of a show, each season should have its own theme or story like within it. So when you go to the next season, it's just carrying on the results of the prior season, not a overarching story over 3 seasons. Just because you don't know if you're getting if you get greenlit for 3 movies, cool, do that. Cool, I guess. Let's do it. But if you don't know if you're getting another season, you should probably try to tell your best possible story in your first season so you can make sure you get a second season.
Yeah. Especially these days, because these days it's so uncertain. The battlefield's uncertain. But you're right, though, Dev. It is Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder had the massive bag with Netflix. It's fair. That's very fair. If anyone felt confident enough that they would get the second, third, fourth season with their series, it's definitely him. So I'll give you that.
We're going to see how that goes. But while we're on the topic of Zack Snyder, it's about time we talk about this man's catalog, this man's resume, this man's rap sheet, because I think that's the best way to describe it. Let's get into this man's crimes. And again, I'll say this, I want to reiterate, I don't hate Zack Snyder. I just he's had some stuff that I've enjoyed. Like Man of Steel, I remember where I was in 2013. Like my stepdad was working at Walmart, and for whatever reason, they gave all Walmart employees like early screening tickets. So I got to go see this movie like early before anybody else and got a poster at the same time when I was back home. So I loved that movie when it came out in 2013. And I don't even like Superman like that, but I love that movie. So I enjoyed Zack Snyder's Superman. I think he's done some stuff that's been okay. I thought Dawn of the Dead was solid, I guess. But for the most part, he has this issue where he is trying to be almost like Michael Bay. Like they try to be overly serious and try to make everything overly cinematic where they make these like wallpaper shots with this glare and sweat everywhere. Yeah. And it ends up like it's because funny enough, I just got done watching the Vince McMahon doc. It feels like he feels like the Vince McMahon of movies where he's like making products that are appealing to like young to middle-aged, maybe some older men.
Yeah, just it's
like, hey, here's attractive, sweaty women that may do some violent stuff for their sex, and here's these big, sweaty men with muscles that fight and do these things. That's what it feels like a lot of times for me.
Yeah.
But that being the case, how do you guys feel about his catalog overall? And we're gonna go down his list of movies from start to finish here in a second. But I want to get your thoughts overall on what his catalog is like for you. And we can start with Lelouch.
So I've got mixed feelings about it. Like there are certain titles that like Dawn of the Dead is still one of my favorite zombie movies to this day. The Watchmen is still one of my favorite superhero movies to this day. But then you got, the DCEU, right? And then Sucker Punch with people will try to over-explain that movie into being good, and it's like, nah, dog, like that's not what happened on screen. Like I get what you're trying to say that it happened. It was like, no, from point A to point B, he did not explain us getting to G. Okay, that did not happen. Yeah, it looked great. Visually, still one of the best looking movies I've ever seen, even for the day that it came out. But
Matter of fact, I hate to cut you off real quick. Matter of fact, we went to a party. All of us went to a party, an after party for the Comic-Con, last year or year before, whatever. And they literally had that movie on in the background, Sucker Punch, on the big screen in the background. And it looked bad. It looks amazing. To see having the visuals playing in the background while music and everything else is going on while you're drinking and macking on some chick, that's great. It's fantastic for that purpose.
Yeah, it is fantastic on mute.
On mute, yeah, mute. It is great on mute. It's amazing on mute. I agree.
In all fairness, he only did like 2 movies in the he did 3 DCEU movies. He did Man of Steel, Justice League, and Batman v Superman. Which, look, Man of Steel was solid. Man of Steel was solid.
But people have we do like it.
Batman v Superman. I think that's the one that really killed.
That's the one.
If you can take that movie out, I don't think he did as bad.
Yeah. Man of Steel is my personal favorite Superman movie to date when it comes to live action. Like I can't think of a single one that is better personally. So again, giving him his credit there.
And we're talking live action, by the way, to specify that, because I think animation wise, there's other ones that are better.
But he's all the animation. Yeah. But no, I agree. Here's another thing too about Zack Snyder. I don't dislike him as a person at all. He actually seems like a pretty decent guy.
Oh yeah,
he seems a little confused about how Batman's supposed to behave. The interviews of him describing how Batman kills. It's like
they want Batman to be a booty warrior.
Yeah, that's that nonsense.
This Buddha hole touch.
but like you said though, Dev, he is very self-indulgent, and that's fine. He's an artist. We all are in some capacity. But his 4-hour Zack Snyder cut or Snyder cut for Justice League, all the slow motion. This guy is infamous, notorious for the slow motion. But it's wildly unnecessary. It's like, why are we doing so much slow motion, Zach? In limited capacity, it can be great. When I first saw that trailer for Watchmen,
slow motion for me.
I call that there. But when I first saw that trailer for in 2008, I think all of us were there. We all maybe Charlie made me too little, I guess. But we went to the theaters to watch The Dark Knight. And at The Dark Knight, they had the first time I saw the trailer.
How
in the
old
movie,
do you think I am?
I know how old you are.
You
You were born in 2000. Did you see The Dark Knight?
Yes, I went to see The Dark Knight at 8 years old. Yes, I saw The Dark
in
Knight.
theaters. In theaters? Okay, because I thought that would be a bit much for 8-year-old, but fair enough.
I was allowed to go to the movies at 8 years old.
For that time, it's PG-13 as well. I wasn't sure. I don't know. I'm glad your parents.
My granddad had me watching The Boondocks at like 7 now, so that's my grandfather.
Fair enough. But I remember seeing that back in the day, it was the actual midnight screening for The Dark Knight. And it was the first time we actually saw the trailer for The Watchmen. And it blew everyone away. It blew everyone away, not just at my theater, it blew everyone away so much across the country that the sales of the of the graphic novel Watchmen flew like went crazy. People who hadn't even heard that comic book or graphic novel went out and bought it. I bought it too. And so it was... The trailer was so well done. The slow motion in the trailer was so well done. It all worked amazing. And of course, 300. We all know 300. The slow motion in that movie put him on the map. I got you. Fair. You are what you are as a Snyder. But he's kind of lost himself in using that same trick. It's the same way that Shyamalan kind of lost himself in using a twist over and over again. It can get a little repetitive. Same way as Michael Bay losing himself in the whole undershot explosions. It's like you gotta find. I understand you have your signatures. That's fine, but don't lose yourself within them. So.
Yeah, I will say this to give him grace. there are other directors, especially ones that we like that are highly acclaimed, like a Scorsese or a Tarantino, where they have their signature things they do in film, whether that be like a way something is shot, a way certain violence is portrayed, the way certain words are used for certain people. And for the most part, those work for them. But I think, to your point, I think the weakness that Snyder has in a lot of stuff is that he's overly reliant on his signature stuff. Like he goes into the movie and he's like, okay, I know I'm gonna have my slow motion scenes. I know I'm gonna get them in, but he doesn't look to where he can add in other places, at least for things that he's writing. Directing as well, because some of those shots are kind of Because Michael Bay, he's gonna have his sweaty shots, his like super wallpaper screeny movies or whatever it may be, and it works for that fan base. And I think we've talked about this, and we talked about this a long time ago on here, in one of the Watchtower. I think it was just me and Otis actually in a Watchtower session we did like years ago, where we talked about making well, no, it was with you. I had a conversation with you, Ethan, where we discussed making content for your fans and people that are watching your stuff versus making content for the masses. I think at this point, Zack Snyder is making movies for people that are fan of Zack Snyder movies.
Yeah, which is fair.
And it just happens to be that the people he makes movies for are a demographic that will never disappear. Because you're always going to have highly filled testosterone men that are like 17 to 30 that like to see attractive women and violence. Like that will always be there.
Yes,
that will always be there.
I mean, let's be honest. The Snyder Cut. How long was it? At least a year, if not more. That people were chanting for the Snyder Cut. Even the Snyder Cut. I want the Snyder Cut of Justice League before the movie came out. And again, there was no Snyder Cut. It wasn't like it existed, but they hadn't released it. No, they had to make it after it was sought after by in demand so much for so long. And like you said, it was primarily by 17 to 30-year-old sweaty testosterone males. So,
bro, people loved him so much that when Gunn got announced to be taking it over, like people were making like art of Superman holding Gunn's decapitated head. Like they were like he was getting death threats and shit. Like they wanted Snyder back in control of the DCEU in the worst way. People did not like that change.
That's terrible.
And granted, I will give him this with the Justice League stuff. His daughter dying during the filming, I will give him a lot of credit. That's why I don't harp on Justice League as much, because I know for a factor of his mind probably wasn't in the right place when he was making that film when that happened, nor did he probably even want to finish that. Like I'd understand if he just wanted to walk away to focus on grieving his daughter's death at that moment in time. So I never get on that. Batman v Superman though, no nigga, you don't get a pass for that. You don't get a pass for that.
Yeah.
You don't get a pass for
to
that.
calm him down. And Joss Whedon took over for Justice League specifically.
Justice
but
League.
No, James Gunn is taking over the DC.
Yeah, he's heading up. He's the new Feige for DC.
Yeah,
and when that announcement got made, it was bad.
there's just a lot of orange in Justice League, bro. Just everything was
It's a lot of orange?
like the entire
The sepia
movie
tone.
was dyed orange. It's like, why?
This is the thing.
It's stuff like that when people don't always notice, like the metrics or like the editing in movies. When it's done really bad, bro, it stands out a lot. When color grading isn't done right in the movie, it stands out a lot when it's bad.
And that was part of the problem. I mean, we had to, I'm trying to dig it on Zach in that regard, but like for Justice League in particular, or his cut of Justice League in particular, so many things looked like a video game. It looked unnatural, what Otis is saying. So the orange didn't look natural. In 300, for the most part, it was all yellow. All of it was yellow, oversaturated, but it kind of fit for the tone of that movie. It kind of seemed it worked. The video game greens and oranges and everything, all the colors in this, it just seemed out of place in a lot of ways in Justice League Snyder Cut.
Now I do, to stop us from just ragging on him, I do want to talk about some of the things that I enjoy about the things that he's done. Because again, like I said before, me seeing Man of Steel at 13, that was like the only Superman story besides the Red Sun that I really enjoyed. And I enjoyed that because him making things gritty and similar to Nolan in the sense to where he makes things more grounded in regards to how a hero that's like a god would be portrayed or how that power would look. I thought he was the perfect person for that type of movie, because when you have a fight scene where he's fighting Zod in the city, it's not going to be pretty like in the cartoons. Right. Like, yeah, I'm going to be destroying skyscrapers and killing people in the wreckage of this fight. I thought it was portrayed in an amazing way. I thought that final fight was dope where I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to make Zod tap out when he has it in his mind that he's going to kill people. I have to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way that he portrayed Superman in that, where people saw him as a god. Because in reality, if this man is flying and shooting lasers out of his eyes, there would be a lot of people that would see him as a god and not a human being. Hell, we already treat celebrities like gods half the time here. So if somebody with actual godlike abilities came to Earth, we do that. And even with stuff like 300, like him having Spartans was perfect because as far as like the fight choreography there and how they're portrayed, if you give him the right ingredients, I think he can cook up something good. And I think we saw that with Twilight of the Gods where it was solid. I think him having Norse mythology and having Viking characters work for him and the things that he does well.
I think also having a writer, a better writer or writing team, because again, going back to Twilight of the Gods, the characters worked. Loki was amazing. The team was great. Thor being what he was, it was all worked really, really well. If you think about a lot of the Snyder movies that have come out more recently, the characters are caricatures. They don't feel real in of themselves. They feel off. Man of Steel worked for me because I actually believed Clark Kent's plight. It's like, yeah, it would suck to feel have no idea where you are, who you are, what you're doing. That was a great time when Snyder actually had some character development and it made sense. A lot of other times it's not really there. So if you give him a good script, if you give him an actual script and have him shoot it, yeah, I'm sure he can make some magic happen.
And I want to really dial into what he did with The Watchmen because, I mean, his portrayal of that, taking that dark, parallel to reality adjacent world and showcasing that, like, creating some like scenes that are still meme to this day, like, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. Like,
the Rorschach. And the extended cut's better. Yeah, the real cut is actually better.
Showing the complexity of a character like Dr. Manhattan, showing of an even more complex character, in my personal opinion, with as Ozymandias. I mean, showing how these people that are God adjacent would react to real social issues that we deal with. I thought that he portrayed that beautifully. I think that, it was so good that it almost to a degree kind of changed the landscape of superhero films because it went from stuff being kind of like more cartoony to being, a lot more grounded within superhero stories. I mean, I don't think he did that exclusively. I think Blade also helped with that plight as well. But like, it really went from like, the Tim Burton, type superhero movies to these grittier stories that we're seeing more consistently today. And I credit him for making that change. Well, being a part of that change as well.
Hey, when did Batman Begins come out? Wasn't that 08 too?
No, because Batman Begins was 2005. Because again, it was 08 when they had the trailer for Watchmen. The Watchmen came out in 09. Because also 08 was a big year. 08 had pretty much the same. Yeah, it had Wanted came up first, then Dark Knight, then Iron Man. All three of those came out the same summer of 08. I know this because I went to a comic convention and pretty much somebody from that was involved with all these movies was there at the convention promoting all these things. Because I remember in 08, comic book movies were not what they are now. They were not well praised. They were not like big things. They're pretty much saying, "Hey, please go see these movies. Please go see them. I promise they're good." So it was actually interesting that actually I wanted to paint it pretty well. But yeah,
that's interesting how like all those gritty movies came out like that same year. Like they're all grounded, gritty superhero movies or comic movies.
They're different. Yeah, I mean, Wanted has a lot of actual bloodshed. Iron Man is meant to be more grittier take too. Iron Man himself is killing people, and obviously Watchmen is there's like a rated R cut for those things too. So it's it makes perfect sense.
I wonder what was going on. I wonder what was in the water in Hollywood at that point in time. So they greenlit all those movies like that.
Too bored,
especially when it wasn't the norm at that point.
Too bored with the lighter stuff. Like, no, Spider-Man 3 did not sell how it was supposed to. You got to switch up the formula.
No, it did not.
Which, funny enough, we talked about lighter stuff. One thing that he did do that I thought was really dope was the Legends of the Guardians.
Guardians
that he did.
Yeah.
Gahul, yeah. Guardians of Gahul.
Legends of the Guardians, the Owls of Gahul. Yeah,
Owls of Gahul,
I'm like, that felt like the most random. Like, if you told me Snyder made that, I would not believe you.
It's actually pretty good. Have you also, it's very pretty too.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is not for kids. This is not for kids.
This is a kids movie. You sure?
This is not for kids. No. It's like Watership Down with flying animals.
It
was because the same studio did Happy Feet, so I was like, yeah, I loved Happy Feet. Yeah, I'm gonna get some owls. Happy Feet Owls? Yeah, hell yeah.
I wonder
you're
if,
not.
if kids went to the theater expecting to see happy dancing owls, I can't. Oh, I feel so bad for those parents. So bad for those parents.
I was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, we can really quickly before we ready to close out. I want to kind of go through his catalog. I'm just going to read off the names of the films and shows that he's been a part of, and I just want a yay or a nay on if y'all rocky with it or not. Just to kind of go through an overall thing. I'm not going to go through the music videos. Which, side note, I think the slow motion makes a lot of sense. That he did a lot of music videos that started his career off. It makes a lot more sense now. That makes a lot more sense.
I mean, they are well shot. It's not. I'm not knocking that. I'm not knocking that.
Yeah. The first one that I see on here is a Spanish film that I don't know if y'all saw. Morrissey, Oye Esteban. I don't know if y'all.
Oh, is it based off the singer? Probably is, right?
I don't know.
I haven't seen it.
Never seen
I haven't seen it.
Came out in 2000 though, so I wasn't even. I don't think I was alive when it came out. Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, definitely thumbs up.
Yeah,
Definitely thumbs up.
still one of the best movies to this day.
The Lost Tape, Andy's Terrifying Last Days Revealed.
I haven't seen that one either.
I didn't see that one either. 300.
Yeah, it's decent. It hasn't aged well at all, really. But when it first came out, I was like, oh, okay, it's kind of interesting, and it gave us Gerard Butler.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, great. Seeing it in theaters is a great experience. Watching it more recently, does it hold up? Not really.
No,
But still, artistically and visually, high level. So I give it credit there.
right. It also
Like
gave
like
us
a really good TV or like a movie or like a theater system. To like really
Another
appreciate
great
that,
movie in mute. Like mute that play. You got the perfect background vibe for a dinner party.
Yeah. Although one thing I do have to say, the music, the actual score soundtrack for that one, it was kind of like the trailer for that movie was really over the top with machismo, and I've heard so many animated music videos that use that score, which we really love too. So yeah.
My Chemical Romance, Desolation Row. Oh, that's a music video. I'm tripping.
Yeah, I know My Chemical Romance. I
It's
don't know
like, wait,
Yeah,
My
I'm
Chemical
tripping.
Romance
I was
has a
like, My
movie?
Chemical Romance?
Yeah, I didn't know they had
that's
a
a
movie
movie
though.
video.
Yeah.
Watchmen.
The extended cut, yeah. The theatrical cut's not as
Yeah,
good.
theatrical cut is tough, but the extended cut, I fully agree.
Yeah.
A movie that I low-key want to go back and watch this again because I haven't watched it in years and I forgot all about it. Legends of the Guardians, The Owls of Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, I'm up for
Yeah, I
that
want to go back and watch that again.
I should have.
Sucker Punch.
It is bizarre because it is so bizarre. The more you think about it, it's like, wow, what is this going on here? It's the idea of going within your mind. It's like, what?
It's
and
like
why are they what?
She was dancing in front of a bunch of guards, and now they're on a train fighting mechs.
Yes. None of it makes sense. It was Gina Carano. Was not Gina Carano? That's the boxer. But what was her name? The woman that's like the dancing instructor that's trying to tell them how to be sexy. She was also in It's just I'm sorry. I'm trying to like keep my brain straight on these things, but there's so much nonsense at once. Never mind. Forget I said anything. It's just I said anything. Movie.
To brighten the mood up a little bit, Man of Steel.
Yeah, I'm up. Still the best Superman movie today.
Oh yeah.
There's a short that he did, the Superman 75th anniversary. I didn't watch that short though.
Yes. Oh yeah, Carla Gugino. That my God, Jesus Christ, Carla Gugino was the one I knew anything about. Yes. And Superman short, the 101. I didn't know he had anything to do with that. That was actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, he directed that one apparently.
Okay. Yeah.
Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Pass.
Why you got the Riddlers and pay Lex Luthor?
That is.
Oh god,
that is.
him as a Riddler would have been annoying too. I'm not
It
gonna
would
lie.
have made
Him
more
at all.
sense.
I would have hated it. He would have been annoying as shit.
But he was supposed to be a Riddler, right? That was the whole idea. It was supposed to be him originally, and then Cranston was supposed to be okay.
Snow Steam Iron. I did not watch. That's a short. Never mind. It's a
Okay,
short. I don't know if I saw that short.
Have you
Though.
seen it short?
It's my first time hearing of it.
All right. It's Justice League.
Pass. How hard pass?
Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, a magical time of the year.
Oh, yeah.
I It says a video, so I don't know if it's just a music video. I think it's a music video, probably.
I hope it's good.
He got credited with Zack Snyder's Justice League and Justice League, which was crazy. Army of the Dead.
No. Try watching that movie. I dare you. I dare you. Try.
I wanted.
I don't like zombies like that.
I
Honestly,
wanted that to be good so bad, but it wasn't.
It's not good though. It's like a parody of itself. The thing is, it starts off as one like pretty hardcore movie. Like, oh, this is gonna be gritty and tough, and then it becomes a weird like what?
Yeah,
It's
almost
shit, total
slapstick
shit.
by the end.
Basically, it is basically slapstick by the end.
okay. Zombies don't really do it for me. So I was just I'll let people have that one. This was a surprise to me. The late show with Stephen Colbert. He was a co-director for that, apparently.
I guess for a couple episodes or so.
For one episode, dripping. Yeah.
Okay. That one
Literally
episode
one
he did
episode.
was great. It was fantastic.
And then we have Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2, A Child of Fire and the Scargiver.
As you said that, I could see your face twitching.
I haven't seen the Scargiver yet though, so I don't know how good that is at all.
I've tried.
I know we all watched the Child of Fire. We all made that whole thing to
A
watch
whole
that.
video on that. How far did you get, Otis, in the second one?
About 20 minutes, and I was just
Really?
like,
Damn, was that bad?
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. You got 20 minutes. in.
I was really like, I'm gonna sit through this whole thing and review it and talk to people about it, and I was just like, nah, bro. Like, I sat through more Guillermo del Toro than this. I still not forgiving Captain of Curiosity. Still not forgiving that.
That was.
Hey, he gave me Hellboy, so I ain't tripping on that.
Although Captain
That's
Curiosity
on
was at
Blade
least
too,
funny.
so I
It was funny.
Not a general shot at Guillermo del Toro, but Captain of Curiosity
That's serious.
specifically that.
Yeah.
But I think that was similar where he presented. I don't think he directed all those. I'm not sure he directed any of those necessarily. Because Pan's
I
Labyrinth
think his
also
name was
is,
just attached.
yeah, Pan's Labyrinth is great. He did Guillermo del Toro did Pan's Labyrinth. But yeah.
But yeah. Well, hell, I remember with Rebel Moon, like it looked good because I was around the time I had like just got my new job and I went and bought I wanted to see my new TV. He's seen how good that TV is now. That's probably one of my favorite purchases I've ever bought. It's expensive as like 75-inch TV. It had like Dolby Vision and 4K UHD. So I love watching like when I go to like HBO Max or Netflix when they have it in Dolby Vision, my TV automatically goes there. The movie looks amazing on the TV. I didn't know what the fuck happened in that movie. Aesthetically, it looked amazing on that TV.
Yeah.
The color grading, everything looked amazing. I couldn't tell you anything about that plot.
That's the problem. That dude, he can shoot things so well. I'm sure y'all been there before. Where it's an amazing. Like say for example, it's something looks like it's going to taste fantastic. This meal's presented in such an amazing way, and you sit down, you put your fork in it, and that first bite is just like what it's almost that much worse because it does look so good, but the content itself is just abysmal. Like Rebel Moon, I saw the trip in LA. Our producer can tell you about how they had so many different posters and different like billboards and everything for Rebel Moon. So all these ads, they have them there in Atlanta and stuff too. We were in LA
when we saw ads before, remember?
Oh, you saw them. That's right. Yeah, when you were here with me.
Yeah.
But the ads looked great. The character designs looked great. They still look great. So I was like, oh no, man, this might be all right. It's on Netflix. Like I can watch it for free. This might be all right. This might be all right. 8 my words with a big old heaping a crow. It was, man, I can't believe how bad that movie was.
A hot take. Well, I don't think it's a hot take, but because I think it's more of a lukewarm take. There aren't that many directors who can also be great at writing. I think it's very difficult for you to be a director and understand how things need to be looked and how they need to be shot and have that vision, and also understand writing a film and not just like the story itself, but like actual script writing is also like as somebody that's been like practicing that and trying to get better at it, doing my reps in for that with my own stuff. That shit's hard, bro. That shit's not easy.
Yeah.
So doing that and also being good at making things look great aesthetically, I'm like, there's a handful of directors. Obviously, like I think somebody like a Tarantino, Scorsese, something else at the top of my head. More recently, like a Jordan Peele and oh my God, I'm blanking on buddy's name, Black Panther, Coogler. Like, there's not too many people that can do that. And even then, like sometimes depending on the film, they may be weaker in certain spots because you're double timing it to make things make sense to you.
But all
I think
of them,
dudes like
they
ahead.
themselves usually don't write all things, the whole entire script themselves. Like even with the you mentioned Scorsese, right? Rebels of the Moon. I'm sorry, not the Moon. The last one he did.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
I think about Moon and Snyder, but the Killers of the Flower Moon that he did, that wasn't directly a script that he wrote himself. It was adapted from something else. Tarantino, yes, very much he writes his own stuff. But Nolan, for example, usually it's his brother or somebody else that writes the actual script, and he kind of works.
Did I say Nolan?
Way. No, you didn't say Nolan.
Okay. I was about to say,
no,
damn,
you didn't Nolan. But so it's very rare that a person does all the above by themselves. Usually they're working with a script that somebody else handled and kind of do it.
The only people I see do that well more often is probably horror directors, just for the fact that you're usually on a smaller budget and they have to do it. Because they don't really have the money to pay somebody else to help them write the stuff. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I don't see too many people that can do that. It's really tough to do. But
sure,
it's just a little take I thought I had. I think it's more of a lukewarm take. I think most people understand that kind of have an idea of how movies work. But
yeah,
c'est la vie.
Right. Overall, though, as much as people want to love Snyder or hate Snyder, overall he's pretty somewhere in the middle. Like he's got some stuff that's really good. Yeah. He's got some stuff that's rubber boom. I mean,
yeah. What's funny about Rebel Moon is how it's pretty much unanimously agreed, even by his hardcore fans. Like, yeah, this is bad. Like no one's like defending it. Like, there are still to this day that people that defend, that love Batman v Superman, both cuts of that movie. It is what it is. No one's out there defending Rebel Moon. No one's defending those two films.
Yeah, because niggas will defend Batfleck till the end of time. I don't get it. I'll let them have that, but
I mean, same with Bale for some reason.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, well, that's because we had the Dark Knight. Yeah, he gets credit for the Dark Knight for whatever reason, but I digress. Let's go ahead and rank Twilight, guys. I don't think we ranked that before we get up out of here. Let's rank that movie.
I'll do it. Yeah.
What are y'all giving out of 10?
Out of 10, I'll probably give it like a 7.5.
Yeah, I give it a solid, either a 7 or 7.5. It was just some of the logic gaps that bothered me. They probably bothered me more than they should have because it was such a well presented. Everything else is so much better overall. So it kind of bothered me. Some of those things.
The ending really, really bothered me because, like, again, if old girl did not go to Valhalla after touching, this steel that's supposed to be God-Slayer steel, and Sigrid ends up there, whether she's dead or not, how can she get in there after, touching that steel? Like, you made the distinction.
Yeah, that bothered me.
How did that happen? Because
that was amazing. It wasn't a throwaway idea either. It was presented it was set up very, very well at the beginning with that dwarf saying, "Hey, you are damning yourself," and she's like, "Yeah, I am. It's part of her whole revenge." So it only makes that much more sense for her to be truly damned. And again, like, I damn myself. I know they did this to try to take out Thor. So it's kind of you pretty much set the whole. You negated your whole entire quest in a way with that. So
it's gonna be some bullshit like which I'm just gonna throw this out here now. If I'm right, we'll see. But my guess is that they're going to make her mother. They never verified who her mother was. They're going to make her mother like a Vanir or like an Aesir god, or she's like half Jotnar, half god, like Loki's kids for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't have a reasoning to think that, but that's my best guess. They're going to pull something out their ass like that, where she's like half deity, and that's why she's been so successful with everything thus far. And she's automatically goes to Valhalla for whatever reason, Odin put her there.
Oh yeah, it's possible. I mean, one other thing too was I didn't know that. And you probably know this better than I do, Charlie. Is it possible for Freya to grab somebody by the shoulders and just transport them to Valhalla?
It's possible because Valhalla is just a realm that I know Odin has access to, and I believe Freya should too, as his wife, and also she is. Keep in mind that I'm trying to remember if she was. I know in God of War they made her the Queen of Valkyries essentially, where she was like the Valkyrie Queen. I can't remember in actual mythology if that was a thing or not, if she was a part of organizing the Valkyries or not. But if that's the case, that wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me.
She teleported.
Because again, we saw that the Valkyries had at least that one in particular, the first episode had an infatuation with her, where she was rubbing her thumb all on her mouth, all sexual and shit for whatever reason.
So it's possible. I mean, again, the Valkyries themselves are jaded. If the gods are jaded, they can be jaded too. They can have their own personality, have their own take on things. But I don't know why it felt bad. I know her name, the blonde. I felt so bad. The whole
I felt bad for her. That hurt my heart.
That hurt my heart bad. I was like, man, the whole thing. She went this massive quest, kind of knowing she was damning herself, but all she wanted was to see her sons, to see her three beautiful boys one last time. And they're like, nah, we gotta.
See, that was
it hurt
a
me.
great
It gets darker when
moment
you-
until you undo it a few minutes later by not having the same thing happen to Sigurd.
And that soured.
I missed the moment there was her actually having to kill her sons. Because remember, like Odin called in all the warriors of Valhalla to come fight in that battle. So if she would have like killed her sons, that's a missed moment they had there.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that thing too, as far as like, I'm calling in the cavalry, all the past warriors. We don't really see them. we see them say, we'll send them back to Valhalla. Okay. We don't actually see them fight any of those guys again. It's kind of this weird like cavalry that doesn't do much, doesn't have much of an effect in the battle. But whatever.
Well, yeah, we're gonna see how that goes. But yeah. Hold on. Wikipedia says scholars have connected her to Valkyries. Okay, so yeah, she's been connected to Valkyries.
Frey has command over that too, so she can do that herself.
Yeah. Which they didn't mention that in the show yet at all.
They did not. They definitively did not. They went out of the way not to mention that. Yeah.
But say la vie. You have any other thoughts though before we get about her?
What's your rating of the series, Jeff?
Oh yeah. I'd probably give it a 7.5. Because once I started it, I couldn't stop watching it. I was binging it because I was bored. Well, I can't even say because I was bored. I think it was that good where I just had to binge it. I thought it was solid.
Yeah, it was definitely enjoyable. I mean, it was, again, I think it was better. One of the best Snyder things that have come out, and he presented it, whatever. One of the best Snyder connected things that have come out in quite a while. I would say on all of Netflix by far.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
yeah, it's up there for me. I think it has the issue that most of those shows have. Like after you watch it and you think about it, all the holes start to present themselves to you. But like upon the first watch, you're like, oh, that was fun. I had fun watching that. I had fun with this.
yeah,
I'm definitely glad I never watched this around like my family or like
Jesus.
a date because that would have, yeah.
They've got. I really hope they have enough TVMA like banners all over there because if a kid says I'm gonna watch this with my mom, it is not a
Can I
please
watch
kids
this
do not watch
cartoon?
this.
5 minutes in.
5 minutes in, it is.
Who put the poom poom on this screen?
Woo. And also the violence is violent too. It is not. It is.
I was here for
It
that
is-
though. I knew like once I saw Snyder, I knew.
Can we talk about Thor showing up at
Thor
the
is
giant
a-
village
Yeah,
and like going
spectacular.
ham? Because we didn't get to that.
That was.
That's where I was like, well,
That
because
was-
you know, in all of mythology, like he has this hate boner with the Jotnar. Like the Aesir do not like the Jotnar at all. Like
fair.
I think Loki is the only one of the Aesir that fuck with them literally and figuratively.
Right. Yeah.
But like they be like, yeah, them giants, fuck them giants. I saw that coming when they were like, we fear no gods. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Channing
nuked on. Just like
Yeah. But
That
it
boy
was even more
Thor.
shocking because we do the series opens with the battle scene. It's like, okay, it's a cool action. They're like, yeah, by the way, that's the PG version of the action. The real action happens at the end where you see him literally obliterate a house full of women and small children. It's like, good Lord.
Bro, when he blew up the old lady, I was like, hey, yo, oh my God.
Like
Why you
bag of
do Granny
bricks.
like that?
I was
So,
like,
like-
okay.
this man was making lightning clones, like the tricks that he did
Shadow Step.
with this
Shadow Step.
lightning and hammer are some of the best
never
animations
seen
I've seen for a lightning user or for Thor, period. So kudos for
never
that.
seen
It's probably the most accurate as well. It's the most accurate Thor that I've like.
Yeah.
Like in Norse mythology, whenever the Aesir are like, yeah, we about to fuck you up. Hey, Thor, come handle our light work real quick.
Yeah.
Like he is always to what they call to handle
He's a
shit.
super duper thug. It reminded me of. I mean, let's be. I know we got to go. We've been here for a long, long time. But
Yeah.
real quick, Netflix had some bangers pretty recently in the animation department. Obviously, we got Blue Eye Samurai, which got the Emmy Award-winning Blue Eye Samurai, Cyberpunk 2077, the Castlevania
Castlevania.
series. They got this.
They got a little catalog. bro.
Terminator Zero. They got Tomb Raider coming out like next week or something.
Devil May Cry coming out.
They're on one. Which one?
Oh, they're doing a Devil May Cry? I
Yeah,
forgot
Devil May
about
Cry is
that.
also
I
Netflix.
forgot about that.
Devil May Cry is also Netflix.
I'm ready for that.
They're on one. They're actually on one. I'm good for them. Good for you, Netflix. And also,
They have really good talent scouts there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Death Row. Whoever is in charge of evaluating like the things that they bring onto their platform or they purchase to put their name on, give them a raise because they've been doing great with picking up these series or funding these series and movies to bring on lately.
Yeah.
Movie like live action movies, not so much as of late.
They have some
But-
hitters, they have some hits in there, but it's obviously you never know.
Nah, but their animation team.
Bruh.
Yeah. And their original stuff. I mean, sometimes, like this wasn't an established IP. It was something they did. They took a chance and it made it work. Blue Eye Samurai wasn't an established IP.
Blood of
They
Zeus.
took a chance and it made it work.
I didn't like that. That's just me.
I thought that was pretty
Which one?
solid. Blood of Zeus.
Blood of Zeus. That was
that was okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All in all, okay. Let's get up out of here, y'all. Before we get up out of here, do y'all want to shout out anything, plug anything coming up in your lives or your content basis?
Make sure you're joining the Blur Discord. We got our Thursday night Exodus Legends sessions, which is I'm sorry, I keep calling me Exodus Legends. Infinite Exodus sessions, which is a D&D adjacent series that we're running straight through the Discord. So just join in 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Friday nights at 9:30 we have our community game nights for the spooky season. We're doing horror series. Right now we're taking a dive into the Dark Picture series, The Devil in Me, and it's been a crazy ride. If you want to get into some more horror games and watch parties with us, join the Blur Discord and get in there with us. No Diddy.
I need to do that.
Coming out, this big thing coming out tomorrow. Actually, we're going to talk about that.
Tomorrow. Blur Jeopardy. We got Blur Jeopardy dropping with Keenan Baker and Roxy Hayes. So be sure to turn into that.
I'm looking forward to watching that. I gotta watch that myself. I've heard a lot about it already from our producer and from y'all, so I gotta watch that one. I do want to promote one thing. The series that was made by our obviously our co-host here, Mr. Lush V, and his buddy Keith Stanley. Briarlands #2 is dropping in October, just in time for. It's
Halloween. Yeah,
it's in time for Halloween. It's very much a Halloween themed book. So much so that I am literally taking it to my class tomorrow for them to read in class to discuss the horror elements of it. So it's in my opinion, it may be. I know it's very, very self-indulgent, and I apologize, Charlie, but it may be my single favorite script that I've written. It's called Sunflower, but it is not about sunflowers. It's a much darker story than it sounds like.
I can't wait to read that. I'm planning at some point covering those first 2 issues on the channel. I just got to get my bearings together, because for me, October is going to be a very heavy field content month for me. If you are aware of my channel, the Captain Uses Dojo, or anything I work on, this October, obviously streaming wise, I'll be starting off October 1st streaming the casting of Frank Stone. Game very similar to like Until Dawn. I've been looking at that for a while now. I'll be playing that, and I'm gonna have, I think Ethan said he's gonna hop in for that. I have some of my other horror buddies that you guys seen with Dr. K or United. She'll be in there with me as well. And if Otis has the time to spare out of his schedule of everything he does, we'll be in there too. So it'll be some cool people in there streaming that as well. Videos. Me and Dr. Knight are doing a series, and Danny as well, where I am watching a bunch of Shudder original horror movies. Because I wanted to shine a little light on Shudder as a platform. I think they have some good stuff on there. And this little series will be the main thing that'll showcase that. We're doing 4 movies. I'll be dropping each video, each week of October, all 4 weeks. So you guys will see one each week. And dope. So far, we're two out of the 4 videos done. And both those movies have been pretty solid thus far. So I want to, for people that are wondering about that. And then lastly, content-wise, I have my video discussing Isekai coming out. I'll probably save that for November, because it'll be a little bit of a lighter month on content for November, as well as I have the next Power Rangers Neglected Era video that is coming out probably next month as well. So we've been writing and recording a lot this past month to get ready for October and November.
When that Deliverance review dropping?
Did y'all watch that? Did y'all watch that thing? They said it's like Precious meets The Exorcist. I said that's insulting to both of those movies. Anyways, yeah.
I saw the clip of the coochie hair, of like your coochie hair being nappy, and I was like,
nappy pussy from him. Yeah.
I was like,
Glenn Close, Academy Award.
I was like, yeah, I'll pass on this. This doesn't seem like my kind of horror. I'll let that go.
I would pay money to watch Glenn Close read that script. Like, wait, I'm saying, what?
That is the funniest horror movie that's ever dropped.
It is.
We may watch it. I'm thinking we'll go for a drinking game.
Yeah, maybe we should watch it because it's funny. It is funny. I'll give you that.
If I figure out, I'll see how well these watch along videos do on the Shudder one. If people enjoy them and they do well, I'll probably do more of them, and that may be one we do. Because I'm going to make that a drinking game where I watch that movie or a different movie, and it'll be fun. It's bad. It's bad. But y'all, that is everything we have going on for the foreseeable future. Again, if you guys want to see more of the content we do, or this is your first time seeing us and you think we're interesting, check out all the prior 3 years worth of content we have on this channel, from interviews to some play-alongs that we never finished. and things of that nature. So
He is.
check out the content we have here,
Christ.
y'all. We are the Then and Out Podcast. This has been Captain Diesel, Lush V, King of the Comics, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.